I'd like to say welcome, welcome, welcome to another segment of Recovery Live Global in the house.
Yeah.
All right.
I have with me today a father and daughter, Miss Denesha Shelton, who we've been in some communication, and man, they got a recovery story to tell.
Mm.
And I'm gonna let them tell it. I'm gonna introduce them, but I'm gonna let them tell it. Man, it's all kinds of layers of recovery out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, we got recovery over here, recovery over there. I mean, recovery like this, recovery like that. And I'm learning that the show, this global show, can take more feet and go more places
Mm-hmm.
and connect, inspire, and educate more people with different viewpoints of recovery on the show.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
so I welcome Ms. Denisha and Mr. Shelton to the show. And I want to introduce them as a father daughter recovery. And a lot of times when a person is in active addiction, they don't know that the family member could be in active addiction too, just without the drug.
Mm.
And they don't know that when a person is in recovery, that the family member could be in recovery too, just abstinence from the substance. And so we here today want to talk about how, because there's other mothers out there, and there's other fathers out there, there's other daughters out there, there's other children, grandchildren, grandmama, grandpapas. It's a lot of different relationships that's out there that need to hear about recovery in the family. And so, with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to uh, who gonna go for ladies first? So we're gonna go with
No,
the
no,
We
she
gonna
don't.
let
Let me break the ice. Let me let
okay.
the audience know that I was the problem today. I am part of the solution, and that's the important part about being in recovery. That you become a part of the solution. My children had no say so in the matter, and when we open and close our meetings, we say a prayer for those that are still sick and suffering, those in and out of the fellowship, um, and for those who have no say so in the matter. And our children had no say so in the matter. Mine did anyway. So as my children watched me suffer and loved me throughout that process, share with you myself 37-year alcohol addiction, 30-year crack cocaine addiction, lifestyle addiction with criminal behavior. Jesse, my daughter and I were talking, and I went over my portfolio, and I've been handcuffed, arrested, taken to jail 109 times.
Mm,
Never sober.
wow. Okay.
High every time. My first case, I was 12 years old when I caught my first case. I was assaulted a police officer at the age of 12, and I was drinking and have been smoking weed. So drugs have been a big part of my life, my whole life. 22 years ago, I faced the judge for the last time, but facing 22 and a half to 30 years in prison for drug trafficking and trying to stay high, not trying to get high, trying to stay high. Did not want to come down. And the 30 years or so that I was abusing drugs in the home with my kids, I say I was a missing dad. I was at home, but I was there in a coma. I was just high all the time. I was dysfunctional. I was non-functional as a father, or dysfunctional at best. So my daughter, she has her story, and she shares some information with me about my behavior that I didn't even remember. So she has her own story, and that's a part of mine, and she's going to share a part of hers, and we'll go back and forth so the audience can see what it looked like in my household. Thank you.
Now you said something about how many arrests,
109 times.
and you said something about how many uh, EMS rides to.
Ooh, I've been shot 9 times, 3 times first time, 6 times the second time, jaw broke twice, stabbed twice, in the, a hammer in the knocked an artery in the top of my head, pistol across my eye lobe here, kicked in the face with a boot, had 7 orbital fractures in my face, jaw broke twice, stabbed twice. Yeah, I cost the system. I actually got the bills for ambulance rides and emergency room treatments in 2 years. I cost the system $102,000 in 2 years. Just emergency room visits and ambulance rides. Just me. Yeah, lifestyle was outrageous.
So you qualify
Oh, I
to
qualify.
be here.
I'm the president and CEO of a nonprofit now, though. We're doing good work today.
Come on, Denesha. What you got?
Well, you know what? First thing I will say, every time I hear him talk about the shootings and stuff, we lived on first time I know he's been shot. We lived on our block. You could see to the corner store, and when he made the phone call, he called from the payphone and told my stepmother, "Come down here. I've been shot." She said, "What? Shot?" And we all went out the door. He said, "At 7 Up." That's the name of the store. And we all looked outside, and he was on the ground. You could see he had the payphone on the ground with his legs stretched out. You know, that was like one of so many traumatic things that I was able to see or hear within that house. My father's addiction has led to us hearing the dope man saying, if you don't have us our money by tonight, we blowing this house up. My stepmother's like, there's kids in the house. We know that. They didn't care. You know, my my family, our family is heavily affected by the crack cocaine that hit and the 80s, and it's like I felt like I was cursed because it's like right after I was born, all of a sudden, everything fell apart. My parents separated. Everybody's drug addiction was, clear and upfront. A lot of things went wrong, but my 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 grandmother, she led me to church, took me to church. We did a lot of things in that manner. Um, it wasn't until I was 11, when I figured out what was happening in the household, which is that it was crack cocaine. And that was from the DARE program when it came to our school, and they got the showing the pictures, and I was like, I saw that in the drawer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so it made a lot of things very clear to my 11-year-old brain, but before then it was total hell. At least the hell after 11, I understood it more.
Okay.
But in through all of that, my father's love for us was clear from when we were little bitty people. So, 4 years old, standing on his feet, dancing to Anita Baker, "You're My Angel," was like the number one anchor that kept my love for him real. Because if nothing else, that memory um, on a regular reminded me how much I loved him, and reminded me how much he really loved me. But now knowing the name of this substance that was taking his love away from me, at that point, I knew, number one, I had to get away from it. Um, and I had to do things differently, which is where my continued love for him came in, but also my separation. So, we talked before. And like I said then, I've told people over the years, that's not the time to take your love away from your loved one. You have to show them on a regular, but even if it's from afar, you still have to let it be known that you love them.
Let me share this. She shared something with me a couple of years ago now, I guess, that I had not even remembered. When we're full-blown addiction, lifestyle, all this going on, and somehow or another there was a reason for me to turn on her. I actually pulled a pistol on this child. She said she was 11 years old. I don't remember it. I don't.
I wasn't 11 then. No. I was 13. I can tell you
13,
story.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like that kind of stuff will happen when a person's in full-blown addiction. Not that you don't love this person, but the mindset, your mind is gone. My mind had to be gone. I love my children. You couldn't say or touch or do anything to any of mine without me exploding, and then I did it. and I have to accept. Why would she lie? There are things that I can remember I did that I wish I hadn't. And this one I didn't remember, but I did it because she said I did it. And man, you talking about
that there is something that if you go so if you go into the fact that my dad was upset pretty much at that time that I had told the truth to CPS with a situation we had beforehand, and he was upset with the fact that I did admit to some of the things that were happening in the household, which is where and that incident happened after all of those things had been told, discussed. We as a family had to
she
go through all this
exposed
stuff.
me. She exposed me.
Yeah, and he was upset. You know what I'm saying? So at that point,
she
I
told.
could.
She snitched. You know, snitches get stitches. You where I come from. You know, but that's how the mindset was. Mine was gone, Jesse.
Yeah, but you know what? The saddest part, which is what your audience, a lot of your audience will understand. I had no fear.
Yeah.
Though he could have taken my life at that time, I had seen so much calamity, so much trauma, so much destruction just within our family. So much of them drawing each other's blood that I didn't have any fear. It was like either you're gonna kill me or I'm gonna take these scissors on this table and I'm gonna kill you. Either one. Um, and I never should have felt like that at 13.
Of course not.
But
Of course not.
knowing what we were dealing with as a family is where, and then the faith and strength that was given to me through the church, it all came together. So when we go off and we talk, because I'm currently seeking my bachelor's degree in social work. I'm one class away, and when I discuss these things with families, so I'm going into counseling and things like that. When I discuss these things, it's to help others. Number one, identify with the fact that they're not alone. A lot of trauma comes to us through our families, and we can get past it together.
Okay.
Okay, but
and
it takes
that's-
communication.
That's a big part of why we're here together. Me personally, my transparency, I have to be transparent. Jesse, you know me. I'm going to tell. I have to tell because that's what saved my life. I remember I was talking to a couple of pastors one day, and he said, I was telling people what I'd been through. And 3 different pastors said, well, you sure you want to be telling people all that? You know, they're going to, they might judge you. I said, man, how's it a testimony if I don't?
Yeah.
What I'm doing is testifying.
Yeah.
It's the truth. This is what God has brought me through. Out of those 109 bookings, I've never been to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last time I got shot, 6 times bullets hit my left shoulder. My nephew took 4 slugs and handed them to me out of the hood of my jacket. I didn't even bleed a drop of blood. Who gets shot and don't bleed? Let alone who gets shot 6 times and don't bleed.
Listening to you and your daughter and what transpired in the recovery processes about the history.
No, that's the active addiction. We ain't got the recovery part yet. We'll get to that.
But I wanna pause for a minute. Then we're gonna come back and talk about recovery.
Recovery, yeah.
Recovery. That being said, I'd like to say tune in as we speak to Recovery Live Global. Well, you might be out there and you want to support the Recovery Live Global efforts. You can do so by purchasing one of our Recovery Live Global t-shirts. So I'm wearing one. If you look at it, it's here. We're moved into merchandise. So you can call us at 313-694-2140. That's 313-694-2140. And just say, hey, I want to support the ministry. I want to support Recovery Live Global by purchasing one of our Recovery Live Global t-shirts. And I had shared with those, if you live in the metropolitan area and you want a t-shirt, I'll deliver it. I'll deliver it myself There's no cost for deliverance. So call us and purchase your Recovery Live Global t-shirt in support of the Recovery Live Global show. So support us. It'll be a good thing. You know, this is some kind of segment as it relates to recovery. A lot of times you don't see father daughter, husband wife,
Family.
sister, family, brother, brother. A lot of times you don't get a chance to capture the family member's perspective as it relates to recovery. I know you guys have been talking about the addiction part and what happened and the drama, the trauma. I mean, all them arrests and all them bullets and all them shots and all of this come help all of those help calls and all of that. But I want to talk now and focus in on the now and the recovery part and the value, because people want to hear, how it was, what happened, and how it is now.
Okay.
So let's embark into that, how it is now.
Let me start that one.
Gotcha.
Okay. So
That's how it started. She stepped up.
I was about
That's
to say
how it started.
we had to
I had to
communication.
reverse roles. I had to let her take charge.
We have with my counseling. When I started counseling, I was 13, and I was told that I was the most stressed out 13-year-old that these doctors has ever met. Three doctors, totally different, times, meaning none of the doctors were connected. And it was basically stress from worrying about my father and my brother both, who were out there in the streets. Um, Same capacity, yet different at the same time. And so counseling initially set my mind clear in understanding that communication was important. But talking to my father, um, in the process of him coming to stay with me at one point, um, in 2003, um, where he, after, was it just with that last arrest?
That's the rest. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
and after that last arrest, he was given an opportunity to work with Judge Greg Mathis. I had to go around the corner and get my dad from this spot, I guess you call it, and really tell him, no, get your butt to the house now.
Mm.
These people are looking to speak with you, and you're around here. I don't want to hear what you're trying to do for this dope boy. You know, let's go. And from that point on, um, looking at my dad with his commitment to volunteer work with the authority and going into different treatment centers, volunteering his time. We sat down and we wrote out the first mission statement together for citywide mentoring. Um, it was amazing. It
Mm.
was amazing. But what, like my dad said, following me, but that was following my granny,
Okay.
following my granny and getting deeper into the word, our
Okay.
faith.
Okay.
So, Dad, how did that go for you?
My mom, she's calling her granny. My mom, she raised us, and she's totally God fearing. The word is what she lives, and so, and she had always been. I mean, my mom. That's my mother. She's looked a lot like her. She is now the mannerisms of her and her commitment to. She's a strong woman. I needed that boundaries. I didn't know. I mean, I moved out of my mom's house at 14. I'm paying her bills. I'm her husband. My dad had left, and when he came back, brought me guns and drugs to sell and things like that. So boundaries, I didn't know. She helped set boundaries. When the time for me to get into the fellowship, I got into the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. And so I learned about the principles and the 12 steps. When I learned the fact um, that I need to make some amends, and I began to work at making amends. The spiritual progress I needed to make was in the fellowship, but it was in my home also because she had been with mom and they were going to church. Spiritual progress, spiritual perfection I'll never achieve.
None of us
But
will.
but but, but spiritual progress I work at every day. And there's a book called The Man God Uses. And I introduced it to Jesse here, and it's a Bible study guide for men. And that was given to me by one of my mentors. And it talked about God taking an ordinary man to do extraordinary things. And so I became a contractor for Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority. And when I did that, our first contract for citywide mentoring was for $1 million, $500,000 matching funding with a peer-run, peer-delivered service, $500,000 matching county and state funding for citywide mentoring. And from that point, the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority was like my David. I was Goliath. I was that little guy with a pebble.
Okay.
With a rock and a slingshot. You know what I'm saying? And because I was so committed to transparency and recovery, our life story, our recovery story is a training video for the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority system. She nominated me for that 2016 Voice Award, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration Voice Award. And I won that nomination. 2,700 people nominated. They only chose 5 people out the whole country. And her nomination for me, I won the nomination and was sent to Los Angeles to speak on the stage at UCLA.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been doing some positive things.
God is good. And
Family reunification is our thing.
yeah, that's it.
Family reunification is our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of individuals don't think that they need family reunification. They think that, my addiction, my penal system experience, my mental health experience, whatever happened in my world, it was only me. It ain't had nothing to do with you. And you should be acceptive because today I decided to get my life right, and all them 25 years that I dragged you through the mud in your life, that you should be accepted because I've been clean 30 days.
Right, now I'm getting better.
And let me share this, Jesse. I didn't mention my mental health was a tremendous issue for my substance abuse. I'm diagnosed bipolar 1 disorder, an antisocial personality disorder, and major depression. State psychiatrists diagnosed me as emotionally disturbed with homicidal and suicidal tendencies. So either you kill me or I kill me. Either way, I just want to die. Because there was so much confusion and chaos. I was in so much pain that, PTSD, they diagnosed me with PTSD here last year because I carried 14 caskets in 3 years. Between the age of 14 and 17 years old, I carried 14 caskets. Bodies of friends and family who had either died from drug overdoses, who were murdered, doing bad drug deals, or committed suicide because they were tired of getting high and couldn't stop. So they killed themselves. They hung themselves because the pain and suffering was so great. So there's a lot of ways we're suffering, and self-medication is not going to solve any of it. When I became medication compliant, that helped me stabilize from not needing the substance, the actual drugs. I've relapsed. I've talked about it. I've wrote stories about the comeback. You know what I'm saying? I get up. I don't stay down. I refuse to not get back up. I've talked to you about it, Jesse. I'm human, and I fall short. And at times, because of the way I was raised and the access, the world is so much out there, it's like almost impossible not to use. With the access we have, gas stations now got liquor stores on the back wall, and you go get some gas and they got fifths and half gallons and pints and dollar shots sitting right at the register.
Yeah, I told one of my participants that they sell rat poison at Rite Aid, but that don't mean you go back and take it.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
I understand.
So now, it's out there for me, you, everybody.
Sure.
But it's somewhere in our processes. I have to come to the point in my life that I have to understand that it's a choice.
Yeah.
And
yes.
that the choice have a consequence.
Yes.
And what I really want to do is make more positive consequences in my world and my life.
Choices, yeah.
And the way I do that is change my choices in the processes. And you said something about mental health and managing your mental health conditions through certain medications that's going to help you to normalize and stabilize that when the bipolar, which is manic and depression, hit, I can be balanced through some kind of medication. And sometimes because of the stigmatism that's associated with, oh, you crazy and mental health conditions, and oh, you ain't nothing but a drunk or a crackhead, because of the stigmas that's associated with that process and that population, people don't want to come on Recovery Live Global and just talk about that.
But see, that's where it comes where you have to know, number one, you're not alone.
Okay.
So even, you may have 4 people saying, oh, you a crackhead, oh, you alcoholic. But then you got 10 people out there that's like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Or,
I
know I have a family member that I really love that's going through. So we have to remember that even though it hurts, it's still important to get out.
Yeah.
That's what most people don't realize, especially when it comes to counseling.
But transparency, that's what it is here. We're here for, because I have to be willing to say I've been sick and suffering.
Yeah.
So, and it's okay. I'm getting better. And my daughter's helping me get better. So there may be another father out there that don't know how to ask for help.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we remember we supposed to know it. I'm the man. I'm supposed to know it all. I'm supposed to be able to do it all. I'm a fixer. And she'll tell you, I'm a fixer for real. I mean, and that's what was the problem was. I'd fix everybody else's, and then mine would break down even further because I didn't gave all of me away to other people and have none left for me, and know none of them had nothing for me.
Stress yourself to the point where you have nothing left internally.
And for myself, I had no energy left for me.
So what we're doing right now is breaking the stigma.
Yeah.
Sure, that's
we
what I'm talking about.
we busting the ceiling
I'm telling.
about, and it ain't snitching.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tell you, I got a story on that one, Jesse. I was in the county jail the last time I was there, and we had been playing cards for 2-3 hours, and this guy walks up, you in my seat, get up. So I'm like, I'm like, who we talking to? I've been here sitting here 2 hours playing cards. He said, you him? I said, excuse me, guard, would you get this fool? He bothering me. He said, you snitching. I ain't snitching. I'm telling, leave me alone. No, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to go in the gym to fight you over this plastic chair.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't snitching. I'm telling now.
Yeah.
We do recover. There are many avenues of recovery. 12 steps. We have Christians for Christ. See stuff. There are programs. There are so many people that will help us. And if we're not more vocal about
this shirt say Alcoholics for Christ.
Alcoholics for Christ. You know
this
what I'm
is
saying?
Another program that I'm involved in.
Sure. And I mentioned a second ago, spiritual progress, not spiritual perfection.
Okay.
Grow as much as you can each day. Be a gentler person, a kinder person. That's spiritual. When you say, hey, hold the door open for a woman. I see young men that are walking a building and let the door close on a woman. When we grew up, you held the door for a woman. When she walked in, and you didn't try to snatch her purse as she walked by. You held the door and let her walk in with her purse.
That's right.
Not let her walk in and snatch the purse and run out the other way.
Oh man, this has been informational.
It's the truth.
It has been spiritual. It has been educational.
Yes.
Man, just to sit here with you guys, father and daughter, and just remember that show was called Let It Rip.
Let it rip. My other daughters speak too, and then my granddaughters, they write letters. They write in my books, in my NA book, whatnot. I know you can do it. We love you. Stuff like that. I've got a family wrapped around me that understands now what it is. It's not me. It's what I'm doing that's causing this.
Yeah.
So education. That's why our license is in prevention.
Yeah.
We've gone to school districts in Inkster. We've talked to kids that were just rambunctious, just totally out of order. We had one young lady said she wanted to be a prostitute when she grew up. We thought she would play. She said no. Her brother said no. She does. She screws guys for hamburgers and pops at the store, from the store, because her mom's doing it. She's watching her mom do it. Now this is what she wants to be, a prostitute when she grows up.
Yeah, the Inkster
She
School
was
District
12 years
quite
old.
interesting. There were a lot of children that spoke really quick on what drug is constantly on the table, or You know, they like, oh yeah, so and so walks to school with a blunt every day. You know, we like, oh God.
9
You
years
know,
old.
we
Yeah,
trying
9
to
old.
help them understand why not. You know, and the more we talked with some of them, the more certain other ones slid lower, more and more under their desk. You know what I'm saying? So, for me, the prevention portion is extremely important because I know what it did for me. Like I said, in sixth grade, you know, and where we have a lot of kids that will follow behind family members doing these drugs and things. Um, the prevention helps the children to understand a lot more why they really don't want to get involved. It helps to understand more of what it does to the brain itself.
And prevention is comes before treatment.
It should.
If
It
you
should.
can prevent
Sure.
cancer, if you could prevent high blood pressure,
Sure.
if you could prevent diabetes, if you could
These
prevent
detrimental things, yeah.
and then you don't need treatment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So prevention is highly, highly important. I heard you guys talking about prevention, going into the schools, going into the churches, going into the places where younger people, younger minds congregate, and how you can have communications and exchange information and ideas with these individuals,
Absolutely.
that you can educate them, inspire them, and let them know that you don't have to just go down
Follow.
that. You don't have to be a follower. You don't have to bite into peer pressures and bite into some of the other things that it'll give you a percentages and rates on you becoming what we had become or others had become.
And that's what kept me
because
out
you
of it.
can cut it off.
Yep.
You can cut some of that stuff off prior to it even happening.
Absolutely.
So prevention is a number one. It's a number one.
It
thing.
should be.
Should
Jesse,
be.
I'll tell you, and you work in a certain area. Treatment dollars are, say, 100 million. Prevention dollars are $1 million. It's only 10%. Prevention dollars are 10% of the treatment budget.
Wow. Okay.
10%. So that's what the problem is. They're not worried about the prevention. They're not as concerned or promoting
Focused on.
prevention like they do treatment. There's more money in treatment. So us preventing a situation is not really on a lot of people's radar.
Yeah.
Which is what brings most of us back to the mindset that this is a systematic situation. You know, for me, if you look at just like the chain of events that occurred after the major boom of crack in our neighborhoods, if you look at the family members that are working towards something, but then you get knocked off your square, where exactly do you go back to? You have no basis because it's, I have a social work professor that said, oh yeah, well, we figured out after a while that just giving the money wasn't helpful. So then we had to go back and try. So it was made very clear that it was a trial by everything. Oops, we made a mistake. Okay, now let's see if this works.
Okay.
And so with me doing, like I say, pursuing my social work degree, I decided that my main area would start with counseling for our children. So art and music therapy, as well as counseling. And then, of course, we're going to have prevention involved in those programs as well. Because to me, you have to start with the kids.
Okay.
If you start with the kids and you let them have a better understanding at life, what this is. What is this? This is marijuana. This is a piece of crack. This is a pill that you shouldn't take.
It was interesting that you said you had some conversation with younger people, with the children, and they was able to identify
Yes.
drugs and substances that you probably
Yes.
didn't even think was a drug or a substance.
For me, I started with the DEA. We did demand reduction talks at the Science Center. We had a group of 8-year-olds, first graders come in. We had a display posted. We had crack pipes, we had heroin needles, we had joints, we had rocks, we had packets of blow inside this encasement. And the kids were pointing out to us at 8 years old what each thing was. And
Grandma have that one every day.
You know what I'm saying?
What?
Once and that they're on a regular basis.
So they was
they
familiar.
know.
They was familiar
The first
with
graders know. I was doing anger management for third graders.
anger management.
Anger management for third graders in Inkster. Kids
Okay.
were coming to school high. Kids would come. They would smoke to finish. They would get the tails from the blunts out of the ashtray on the way to work, and then they would spark them up and smoke them. When they got to work, they'd slide down in the seat. When they got to school, they'd slide down in the seat. They'd be just as high.
That was
as an
just
adult.
like the when I was going a little bit into the school system, elementary school system,
Elementary schools. Yeah.
talking about prevention.
Yep.
And I noticed that the teacher had taken this child and told him to stand in the corner and put his nose on the wall. And I was saying, why she doing that? Why she doing that kid like that? She said, you stay over there and you keep your nose on that wall till the class over. But when the class was over, I went over and had a little brief conversation with the child, and I smelled alcohol reeking all over his body, out his pores and everything. He said, well, when my mama and daddy, you know, when they got through with the party last night, on my way to school, I took a little bit out of this glass, a little bit out of that glass, a little bit out of that glass, and I drank it on my way to school every day.
Yep.
Now, the teacher thought that it was a behavior problem, could not identify
Family lifestyle.
that it was a family lifestyle, and it was a drug problem sitting right here, and standing in the corner with your nose on the wall.
Ain't gonna solve it. He
It
needs
didn't
help.
solve
He
it.
needs
He
help.
needed some help,
He needed help.
as it related, and so I think, and it's probably better now that you got a lot of educators just kind of informed in how to recognize and notice children that's under the influence and up under alcohol and certain substances and things like that. So it's a better fit now, because it was a time where they stopped selling whiteout in Rite Aids today.
Sniffing it.
I say whiteout. Why they stop selling white? Because the kids is buying whiteout and sniffing it.
They're pouring orange pop, hand sanitizer in orange pop because of alcohol content, and drinking hand sanitizer
They drinking hand sanitizer
in
because
pop. In
in the
orange
pop?
pop, it has alcohol content in it.
Okay, so it's a lot of dynamics on how to get substance abuses in the body. The guy told me that he take an enema. You know what I'm saying? That's how he get his substance in his body.
Yep. Through
And
his
then
rectum.
one gentleman told me that he soaked his feet in gin, trying to get away from dropping
but I know.
dirty with his probation and parole office. He thinking that if he sit his feet in the tub of gin, the gin gonna soak through his pores on his feet and give him a buzz like he ain't never had before. And he ain't tasted nothing, ain't drunk. And he wonder why he's still showing up a dirty.
Right, because it's in the blood.
Because it's in the blood.
Yeah,
So
but they'll
people-
squirt it in their behinds with
Man,
that enema.
we
I've seen,
need-
I heard
and
that.
I think now that we may have to do a show on an education, the viewing all this in the population on what that
Drug
they need
trends.
to look for.
They call them drug trends.
Yeah, drug trends.
Drug trends. They're called
Trends and stuff like that.
I've got information.
We
that I
might
use for
have to
college.
come back with a show on
I'll
that.
put it together for you.
Just to educate. Man, this is a global show, and I don't know where you at looking and watching, but we may need to do a show on mouthwash.
Put it
It's
together.
got alcohol
There
in
you go.
it.
There you go.
Rum cake. You know, they telling me, well, you can still eat rum cake. They
got
say
alcohol.
because when you put it in the oven, it
Burns
cooked the
off.
rum.
don't.
It cooked the rum out the cake, so you could eat that. But as an addict, eating rum cake,
You're going to eat the whole cake.
it
Try
might
to
you
get
might
that
eat the whole cake, or it may
psychological.
trigger psychologically
Psychological.
You still gonna
the
taste.
time that you was tasting and this alcohol. The next thing you know, you done went and bought you 5 pounds of rum cake, and you
Just
think
the rum.
because you eating
Get the
cake,
cake.
you ain't drinking.
You ain't
You know what I'm
drinking.
saying?
But then you eating all the sugar and you building up on other things. you
So
know.
it's yeah.
Abuse is abuse. Yeah.
We may have to come back with a show.
put it together
on,
for you.
on how to educate the community on where you can find substance abuse. I mean, it's in mouthwash. It's in it's in
Markers.
hand
it's-
sanitizer, like hand sanitizer.
it's like my dentist. I had some surgery done at the dentist, and then he wrote me a prescription for Tylenol 3s.
Codeine.
Force.
And told me to
Codeine.
take that, and I said, "Hold on, you know,
Codeine, they're
I've been
force.
to pharmacology
Yeah.
classes, so I kind of know what is what.
Codeine.
And I say, do you have another type of medication that you could write for me that's non-narcotic? He said, yeah, Motrins and stuff like that. I said, well, give me give me something that's non-narcotic. But a lot of people think because the doctor wrote the script that you cool. But the body don't know whether the doctor wrote the script and you filled your prescription at Walmart's or the pharmacy, or you cop off of Mac and Bewick. You know what I'm saying? Once the substance is in the body, it is what it is. And if you in recovery or trying to practice some of the principles of recovery, you got to watch what you put inside the system.
Absolutely.
Because it can wake up your old system of narcotics or whatever it is that you've been doing. And I found out that one substance will hide behind another one. And what I mean by that, if you got an opioid problem, you don't need to be smoking weed.
Substance use is abuse.
It's a trigger, though.
Because once you smoke weed and your drug of choice was opioids, the body gonna think, man, doggone, I done relapsed off this weed, and if I'm a relapse and drop a dirty, I might as well use what I like.
Drug of choice. But you know, Jesse, what you said, your body will think. We started a meeting, 12-step meeting at the Mathis Community Center called "The Thought is the Cause of It All." And once your thinking you have used, you'll never forget how to use. And the abuse process, is another step. But the thought, the thinking, it happens. The thinking, you really be mindful of what you're feeding into yourself. Like every morning now, I'm inspirational. Like yourself, constantly we fed with positive suggestions and things like that. You start. I found myself in a conversation, and the guy started cussing. Before I knew it, I'm cussing too. You know what I'm saying? Our environments. So the environment plays a big part of how you respond to life, and you got to watch a lot of things, not just not using, but you got to not just allow yourself to abuse language, people, because using people is still using, like using drugs. Using is using.
Yeah, I taught a class on that word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against you.
You.
Now that thing blew my mind when I started really looking at it and trying to comprehend it and understand it. So I'm not sinning against you. I'm slapping you. Well, I ain't slapping you, but just using that as an example.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sinning against you, but really I'm sinning against him.
Yes, sir.
And that's who you really got to answer to.
That's it.
So when you right with him, then I can be right with you.
Yes.
And
That's the
things like
purpose.
that.
That's the
So
nice
man,
purpose.
there's some powerful. That's why it says to admit to God, ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrong.
Yeah.
What's the exact nature of my wrong? The exact nature of my wrong is why did I do what I did? You see what I'm saying? I can talk about what I did all day, all week, all month. And I confess what I did all day, all week, and all month. But the why did you do it? What was the science behind
Yeah, well, just like we
what
say.
you just did? What was the why did you do what you? If you don't know why you did it, then there's a possibility that you're going to keep on doing it.
And you're thinking, we talk, the relapse is not just the use. It's a process before you relapse. Your behaviors, your attitudes, your conversations start changing. When you come to recovery, the gratitude is so great. You're really embracing it, and you're kinder, and you're more grateful, you're more helpful, and then you stop doing things that got you there. And before you know it, now all of a sudden, I'm going to stop by the store and get me a beer.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? You forget to be grateful. And that's, for me, we spoke on it again today, being gratitude. Don't forget to be grateful. It's cold out there. We had a car to get back in to wait until we got the door open. We didn't have to wait at the gas station or for the bus to come to take us back. We don't have to do it now. Was the time there was no car. We got a car sitting in the driveway that runs that's not being used because it was gifted to someone. And we're not going to bother till they come and get it. Before was a time if I had anything for sale, I'd sell it. Yours now ain't had to be mine. It could be yours. I'd sell it too.
Come on now.
Hey, because I sure just thought about my little dress that you been sent on with the Bronco. I was like, yeah. But you think about that kind of stuff, and I knew what I didn't want to get into, and I knew what I would like to try to help others not get into. So understanding how and why in some areas can help to prevent in other areas.
And it's just a beautiful show to have the father who was the addict and the daughter who was in the relationship with the father, and then experience hurt, shame, loss, and things like that. And then for you to step up to the plate and say, I want to help in this population, and I want to go to school, and I want to help in this population. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do stuff like that. Man, this has been another segment. What my cat? This has been another segment of Recovery Live Global. Stay tuned. Man, we've been having some awesome people, some awesome topics. Man, tune in. Tune in. If you know somebody, tell them to link in to Recovery Live Global on their YouTube station. It's going to be mirrored on Facebook, and we're taking it to multiple different platforms, just trying to inspire, educate, and get the word out that recovery is possible by any means necessary. Absolutely. You could get recovery through spirituality. You could get the recovery through 12 steps. You could get recovery through harm reduction. You could get the recovery through the stages of change. Mm-hmm. You can get recovery through
counseling and therapy.
Counseling, therapy,
word of mouth.
The dimensions of wellness. It's just so many avenues to get recovery, and that's what Recovery Live Global show is about, the multiplicity of the different journeys that a person can take to end up in the recovery. Any closing remarks that you would like to say to the community?
I'd say this: prevention is a form of mentoring is a form of prevention. If you've got the willingness to attach yourself to a mentoring program to help, like we are part of the National Fatherhood Initiative. We have a new program I designed called Healthy Fathers, Healthy Families. Mm-hmm. But it's not just for fathers, healthy mothers, healthy families also. But there's steps that we use to support the family as a whole, like we're supported, so we can grow together. The children, I have 4 great-grandchildren at home with my daughter. And so now we're there raising these 4 great-grandchildren, and they're 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old. And we're there together to see that they get all the discipline they need, not just catered to. They have to be taught, nurtured, but they have to be raised with dignity and respect. And they have to learn to live and give others dignity and respect. A lot of stuff has been lost. Common sense is just not that common anymore. So we just got to pay attention to the basics, get back to some of the basics, you know.
And it's good that you would catch them at that young.
Yes, we have to. That's how early we have to start. Mm-hmm. By the time they get 8 years old, their mindset is a certain way. They going to school terrorizing the teacher. The teacher can't hardly teach because they come to school with attitude like the parents. You know, so let's start as soon as you can. Start teaching them, showing them love as soon as you can.
Yeah. Denesha, do you have any closing remarks that you can share with the listening audience?
My top maintenance word: talk, communicate, talk. So whether it's a counselor, a trusted family member, or a best friend that will not throw something back in your face when they're mad at you, talk. Get it out, express it, and that will help you find the next link, and then the next link to find out how this happened and to keep it from ever happening again. That's the best way I can come up with that.
Wow. This has been another segment of Recovery Live Global. Stay tuned and be a part of the show. If you'd like to be a part of it, you can. Just follow our announcements at the end of the show. It'll tell you how you can support the show. So we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jesse.